Welcome everybody to BNI Talks. This week we've got Andrew Hindle, founder and CEO of Stack Deck. We're going to talk some marketing and branding of your business. And you may notice a fresh face here. We've had some of our regulars on for the past, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks in a row. So it's nice to bring some new talent in. Andrew's a member in Colorado, and he'll be telling you more about that in just a little bit. So Andrew, why don't you take it away if you're ready to go?
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. I wanted to say thank you guys so much for being here. Everyone in BNI has just been instrumental in my growth and success. And I really look at this as a family. The giver's gain philosophy has been absolutely the core value that I have embodied throughout my time at BNI. And I have found it to be true time and time again. A little bit about me. So I actually started out as an engineering student because my parents told me to. And I did that for about 2 years. And I decided, you know what, I think a computer is going to be able to do this work. If it can't already, it will in the next 5 to 10 years. And so I went to the complete other end of the spectrum, and I went to music production school in New York City. And I did that somewhat successfully as a teacher and some ghostwriting for about a year. And it turns out somewhat successfully does not pay the bills in New York City. So my parents told me, they were like, if you come back down to earth and get a real job, we'll help you pay for the back half of your bachelor's degree. And I was, I wasn't sure what I was even going to do at that point. And it just so happened that during my time as a musician or a producer, I was actually branding and marketing myself, and I didn't realize it. And so Texas Tech University states that advertising is where creativity and strategy collide. And I was immediately sold. I was like, this is perfect for me. So I dived right in, went straight into the curriculum classes. I was president of the Texas Tech or the American Advertising Federation chapter for a year at my school. I got 3rd place on the National Student Advertising Competition team. And I made a campaign for Charles Schwab and Wiener Schnitzel, not at the same time.
Yeah, that would be an odd kind of matchup.
Yeah. So the National Student Advertising Competition team was Wiener Schnitzel. It was fun in the bun. That was the campaign, and we had to make hot dogs cool again. So not the easiest task there was. With Charles Schwab, however, there was a huge lapse in the financial industry in terms of ages. There's a lot of people about to retire that are registered investment advisors or RIAs, and there's not enough people to fill that gap. And so essentially what Charles Schwab wanted us to do was not sell more people on Charles Schwab products. Rather, they wanted more people to become registered investment advisors as a career, whether they were working for Charles Schwab or not. So it was actually a very fun project to work on. We did focus groups, surveys, research analytics, all kinds of different stuff to find the answers. And it turns out that, just going and talking and making strategic partnerships with, school departments, everything like that was the best way to target these college kids. So that was a really good experience for me for a Fortune 500 company that I had worked with. And I graduated August of 2019, and I actually got a job offer in July of 2019. And it was in Colorado, and I was in Texas at the time. So I actually packed up and moved to be there within the 3 days after the interview. And it was this small agency in Loveland, Colorado, about 7 or 8 people. And essentially what we were doing was lead generation. It was Facebook ads and Google ads. And from there, I learned a lot of client-facing relationship type stuff. I was building the ads, I was building landing pages, everything like that. But we weren't working on websites, and we weren't doing a lot of data analytics. And so essentially I moved on to a second agency, which was the largest in Colorado. And they had about 500 or 600 employees, and they were doing a different version of the same thing. However, they were doing websites, everything like that. And I told myself, I was like, you know what? I don't think I'll ever do client-facing work again. And so I was a platform analytics specialist. And what that means is essentially someone would sell the business owner or the solopreneur on the product to grow their business, build them a website, whatever the case was. They would hand it off to me. I would build the ads, build the website, integrate everything, make all the platforms talk to each other, and then I would hand it off to the account manager. And when I was there, I was sitting next to account managers, and it just didn't seem, it didn't align with me morally, what was going on. And you know what, I figured if I go out and I keep quality of work high and I stay honest and I put out a quality product to a select group of people, then I should be able to make a living. And so that's how Stacked Deck was founded. And I've never lost a client, and I don't play. There's a million reasons to lose a client, but relationships are the absolute most important thing to me, and protecting those. So if I don't make money for someone 1 month, I just move the payment out. But that's a little bit about me. So we'll go ahead and move into why we're here. So we're going to learn how to create a brand worth scaling and how to be market ready in 4 steps. The first thing that I always start with is spherical branding. And spherical branding can be described as, if you think of a sphere, it looks the same from any angle, right? And as should a brand. And what that means is if I go to a website, if I walk into a store, if I interact with an employee, if I go to their Twitter account, Instagram, you name it, I should be getting the exact same 5-star customer experience no matter what. And why does this matter? Well, it matters because it's your brand. And, when you have employees working for you, like Chick-fil-A as an example, when you go there, you get yes, ma'am, yes, sir, my pleasure, all that stuff. However, when they take off the red shirt, they're still representing your company. And what they've done is they've branded internally. And so instead of kind of attaching a marketing plan onto the side of your business or having someone do it for you, it's really important to get in agreement with the decision makers and in turn your employees on your messaging strategy, because it affects everyone. It affects, ideally your target audience, but people are going to hear about your business. They're going to hear about your employees, everything like that. Nowadays, word travels as fast as the internet. So you want to make sure that your core group of individuals is on the same page. And what does it look like when it's executed correctly? It's going to look like Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out is another good example. They've created a system in which no matter what happens, you can go to any location, any version of their website, anything like that, and you get the exact same customer experience. So, question of the day.
Oh, we've got a poll.
Yeah.
Let me launch the poll.
Awesome. Yes. So what's the difference between branding a Fortune 500 company and branding a small business of less than 10 employees or even 1 employee? Does anyone have any guesses?
And for those of you who are driving and can't see the screen, your choices are marketing budget, number of employees, quarterly revenue activity, number of decision makers, and those voting can use multiple votes if you'd like. I am curious about this one. Let's see. All right. I'm going to leave this open for about 10 more seconds, and then we'll close it and show the results. All right, let's close it out. And here are the results.
Yeah, it looks like marketing budget was a winner and number of decision makers. So it turns out that all of those answers are technically correct. However, there is no difference between branding a Fortune 500 company and branding a small business. If you implement the spherical branding process correctly, it looks the exact same. The only difference is how many people are arguing over what the messaging strategy is.
Right, and that's interesting because when you think about it, sometimes you always think, well, my company's not large enough for this, and I'm not ready for that. But in fact, right out of the gate, you're starting to at least create something that's going to scale up eventually.
Right. And the earlier you do this, and it seems, when you're a solopreneur or you have, 3 people in your business, it seems like it's not a big deal. And it really, literally, you're not going to see a difference the next day. You're not going to see a difference in the first week. Where this matters, it creates longevity and it creates sustainability, it creates reliability, and the spherical branding process is a promise to yourself and a promise to your brand. And so that way, whenever you have an employee or a new hire, anything like that, you have a spherical branding document that sits above your desk, serving as an internal, Bible even. And so anyone that, is posting on social media, they can look at this and they can say, does this social media post align with our stated and agreed upon messaging strategy? So it's very important.
All right, good point. I like that one.
So what are the steps? The first thing is we want to set a scene for a life-changing brand. And what that looks like is organization of digital assets. That's really what it is let's make sure everything is organized. We have all of our files and photos, our content. We want to have every digital asset in one place so that we know what we have and we know what we don't have. Step 2 is going to be defining the target audience. This is absolutely the most important part with any marketing strategy. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. You want to know exactly who you're selling to and why. And you could have multiple target audiences. So that's something that we'll dip into as well. Number 3, the spherical branding workshop. We've already discussed that, but that's going to be step 3. And number 4 is utilizing the free space, as I call it. So there are paid versions of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can pay for ads, but what you want to do is you want to have all of your organic platforms perfected before you start spending money. So we'll get into that as well. So step 1, setting the scene for a life-changing brand. So in addition to, organizing your digital assets, there are 3 things that I have found that really set brands and business owners alike apart. And keep in mind, a business does not have a personality, the people do. And so the messaging strategy and being in agreement on that is extremely important. But the 3 things are authenticity, differentiation, and consistency. Authenticity lets you know that it lets the customers know when a brand is true to what they're saying. So if on your website, you claim that you have a 5-star customer experience and, everything looks amazing on the website, but when you walk into the store, there's a huge disconnect, like no one welcomes you at the door or something like that. That creates disassociation with the brand, which that's worse than people not hearing about you at all. So this is where consistency comes into play. So being consistent with your messaging strategy is extremely important because the idea is that you want to create brand recognition, you want to increase your brand recall rate, and you want people to be familiar with your brand. And in order to be authentic and consistent, you want to differentiate yourself. So, like I said, businesses don't have a personality, the people do, and a unique selling proposition or a USP is the key to differentiating yourself. So for example, I'm an advertising agency, right? There's a million people that do exactly what I do. I could talk about Facebook ads and Google ads and websites all day long, but at the end of the day, there's guys and girls that have been doing the exact same thing. And so I try to differentiate myself with the relationship aspect. That's the only way I can. I want to cut through the noise. So depending on which industry you're in, you want to identify what your differentiator is. So that way you can be authentic and you can be consistent.
I think this is great because you really have to be able to answer these 3 questions really before you move forward in your business. Otherwise, so many things can go wrong.
Exactly. Yes, that's right, Steve.
I'm putting it light.
Yes, you are. I appreciate it. Yes. My translator. Okay, so step 2, defining your target audience. The first step is going to be collecting and organizing data, and this is going to be different from what I said about organizing your digital assets. So organizing your digital assets is going to look like get your logins in place and, you know, make sure everything's together literally, quite literally. I hate using that word, but that's what it is. Defining your target audience, step one is there's two ways to get data about your target audience. You can spend money on Facebook and Google and test and see who responds. And that's still going to be part of the process either way. However, if you have an existing business, and let's say you've been in business for even 1 year, and you have, let's say 20, let's just use 10 as a number. You have 10 clients you've previously worked with. If you compile the data of those 10 clients, so there's demographic data and there's psychographic data. Demographic data is going to be age, gender, location, income, which you can't really target anymore. It's going to be another literal. It's going to be the literals of the audience. Psychographic data is going to be behaviors and interests. So that's going to be like, what do they like to do in their free time? You know, what are their hobbies? Anything like that. And you want to create a spreadsheet, and you don't need to have names in it. What you need to have is the age, gender, location, and if you can, the behaviors and interests, or at least just some little blurb about them, so you can create it in a affinity category. And additionally, you want to state how much they paid you in total. So at the end, you have a spreadsheet of your existing clients, and you can take averages of all these numbers. And once you have averages of all these numbers, then what you can do is write up what's called a target audience profile. And this target audience profile, how I like to do it is I get extremely specific with it. With any marketing strategy, I have found that it is way more successful if you talk to one person rather than advertising to a group of people. So whenever you're thinking of targeting, think of one person, whether it's a made up person, or you can use an example from your existing client list. You want to know your strengths and weaknesses and how to correctly target those people. So if your main target audience is women in ages, 29 to 36, and they like doing yoga, for instance, you want to know that, and you want to have that written down, and creating a profile will help with that. So step 3, the Spherical Branding Workshop. The first thing, so there's going to be 4 things that come out of the Spherical Branding Workshop. It's going to be a 1-page document. And at first, though, it's going to be a lot of pages. And essentially, we want to get as much information down as possible. And then we do subtractive editing. So the 4 things that come out of it are extremely important. Your brand mantra, which is your slogan. This is going to be the hardest thing to come up with, and it's going to come later after you determine your position, personality, and club. Your brand position is going to be a positioning statement. So a positioning statement is, for example, would be 2 36-year-olds who like yoga. Stacked deck is and this is where you would put unique selling proposition. So 2 36-year-olds who like yoga. Stacked Deck is the best advertising agency in the Denver area. And that would be a positioning statement. Then you know where you are at in comparison to your competitors. This is where differentiation comes in. You want to know where you're at in comparison. If you have a ton of overlap with someone next door who's doing the exact same thing, you definitely want to do some differentiation, or at least identify how you can differentiate. Your brand personality, this goes back to companies don't have a personality, the people do. And so deciding on, does the company want to be seen as fun, catchy and easygoing, or do you want it to be like clean, professional, kind of rigid, and more of like an attorney feel, or we can go like a creative feel. It's important to define these things so that when you are, making a social media post, the tone of voice that you're using is extremely important. You don't want to have, let's say, for instance, you don't want to have a lumberjack posting one day and then a college-age student posting the next day, and then it's a completely different tone of voice. It creates disassociation with the brand. So you want to be extremely consistent. So authenticity, consistency, and differentiation. And then the 4th thing is your brand club or tribe. This is extremely important because it's similar to your target audience, but sometimes there's, and most of the time from what I've seen, there is a very big difference between the people that like and engage with your content versus the people that pay you the money that you're looking for. Sometimes those are two completely different audiences. So someone could be liking and sharing your stuff and you could spend money targeting them, but if they're not the people that are actually paying you money, then or the amounts of money that you're looking for your services or products, that's something to take into consideration. So think of the brand club as what others, outsiders who are not your clients or potentially will be your clients, see your following as. So I know it's a little bit tricky there, but that's what we're doing. So there's a target audience, and then there's people that pay you, and there's people that like and follow your content. Sometimes they overlap, and ideally you want them to, but defining that is extremely important. And then after this is done, we'll consolidate it all into a one-page document, as I said, and it's really a commitment to yourself and to your business. So everyone that's a part of the process should sign the document, and then you got, guys and girls, hang it on your wall as a commitment to your brand and to your company. So step 4, utilizing the free space. So like I said, there's paid versions of everything. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that stuff. You can spend money on things and you can throw money at it and it will work. Eventually it will come together and it will work. However, what these algorithms are looking for specifically, let's just use like Facebook as an example, and Google. These algorithms are looking for what your page score is and what your engagement percentage is, as well as your baseline activity level. So the first thing you want to note is what your page score is. So if you make a new Facebook page and you start posting, you don't spend any money, the people that follow it, what percentage of those people are liking and commenting? That's going to be your engagement percentage. And the higher your engagement percentage is, the lower your cost per impression will be whenever you do decide to spend money on ads. So it's extremely important, if you ever plan on running ads, to make your page score as high as possible and get your engagement percentage as high as possible, because Facebook and Google, their stated goal is that they want to provide a relevant and user-friendly experience. And so if you're helping Facebook provide a user-friendly experience, they're going to reward you and they're going to show your content more often to more people and to higher value people. Time is a product on these platforms. The user is the product and the time is what they're selling. And so for someone who spends 5 minutes on Facebook, they're worth a lot more versus someone who spends 6 hours a day on Facebook. But having a Google My Business listing, Yelp listing, Bing Places, Apple Maps, there's a ton of these listing websites, and Google My Business owns about 80% of the market share. So if you leave here with anything today, it's make sure that your Google My Business listing is up to date and reply to reviews within 48 hours and treat Google My Business like a social media platform. So if you post on Facebook, post on Google My Business as well.
So I'm going to jump in here because about 10 minutes ago, as you were starting speaking, I got a prompt on my phone that says, "Hey, everybody, Google My Business is now called Business Profile." I guess they changed it. Yeah, so I just jumped onto Google My Business, and it says Google Business Profile now. It's a hot off the press. Go. Google's switching it up again, as they do.
So that's Google the thing.
Keeps you working.
And a comment on that is, there's no textbook on these things, right? There is no, and all these, gurus and everything like that state, this is the perfect plan for Facebook. As soon as that stuff is published, it's dated. That's the problem. And that's why it's so important to stay up to date and just use it yourself. That's really the best thing that you can do, is use it yourself. And so scheduling time, like 1 hour every Thursday or Friday to post on your social media accounts is all it takes. And once you have utilized the free space correctly, you have built a machine that you can throw money at, and that will reliably get you results.
Yep.
And question number 2.
Oh, all right. Let me jump into the polls here. Here we go. Question number 2.
What's the difference between scaling a business grossing 5,000 to 15,000 a month versus scaling a business grossing 75K to 125K a month?
All right, here we go. Oh, I'm sorry, for those driving around, don't have the screens on. Optimizing your website's conversion goal, hiring new employees, assigning an existing employee to answer the phone or phones, shortening the new client consultations to 30 minutes, or create a new org chart. Everyone has chosen something on this list, so it will be interesting to see how it all shakes out. We'll give it another 10 seconds for you to place your votes. You can vote for as many different things as you like. All right. Let's close it out and share the results.
Awesome.
Right.
So
Question number 1, answer number 1, optimizing your website's conversion goal.
yes. So these answers all come into play, and it's dependent on the industry. Optimizing your website's conversion goal ideally should happen in the 5K a month mark. That's one of the most important things, is setting up data analytics for your online strategy. That is one of the most important things. Hiring new employees comes into play as well, and that can happen anywhere in between the 5K to 125K a month mark. Assigning an existing employee to answer the phones is actually one of the most effective ways that I have seen to scale a business. If you have, let's say, 5 to 10 employees, you need someone dedicated to scheduling new clients, patients, customers, whatever the case is. You need someone doing that as a full-time job. What I've seen is, for example, maybe in a chiropractic office, you have a chiropractic assistant who she already has a full-time job of caring for patients and everything like that. And now adding the task of answering the phones and a 5-minute follow-up, that's a lot to take in. And so all you need is, you just need someone to answer the phones, and you need someone to be on the same messaging strategy. And shortening new client consultations, let's say if it's a chiropractic office and they have 1 hour free consultations, let's shorten those to 30 minutes and get twice as many in the day. Maybe you'll double your clients. That's one way I've seen it done. Creating a new org chart, just defining your existing employees' job descriptions and making sure everyone knows their role and what they're supposed to be doing is another great way of scaling your business.
Yeah, I love this answer of shortening new client consultations to 30 minutes, because when I started doing things, I always did an hour. It was an hour meeting, because that's what you did, right? And as you get better and faster and more efficient, you probably don't need that full hour to get the information that you need. But you just say to yourself, this is what we've always done. And I think that's the question people need to ask. Are you doing it because that's what you've always done, or is it really the best decision for your business?
That's exactly right. And another thing that I've seen people move towards is, charging a non-refundable $25 fee for those new client appointments. Your time is valuable. You've created a business and people are there, and you don't want the tire kickers, the plate lickers, the window, all this stuff like that. You want people that are there to buy from you. You want qualified leads. And so adding a $25 non-refundable fee is a great way to do it. Or you can put a credit card on file and tell them, if they miss the appointment, then it will be charged.
Great. We got a comment here from Catherine, who says, I send out a pre-consult questionnaire now to help save time on the direct conversation. It's a little information gathering before the meeting.
That's perfect. So a quick description of whether it's a contact form or a pre-qualification survey on the other end of the spectrum. Think of the pre-qualification survey, and the more questions you have, as what's called higher intent. So if someone fills out a contact form for your business, you have to assume that they've done it for 3 to 5 other businesses. And the goal is if you only ask for name, phone number, and email, Ideally, you're going to get a lot of quantity, but those people may not remember filling out the form. They may not, depending on your 5-minute follow-up, they may not remember even filling out the form. And so having if you have the problem of you have too many people coming in, let's get some higher intent out of it. So for one of my clients, I built a 6-step survey where it asked them questions about when they want the event planned, how many chairs and tables they need, everything like that, down to the hour of when it's going to be scheduled. So that way, all they have to do, all my client has to do is pick up the phone and say yes or no, and tell them how it's going to happen. So again, on the fast end of things and the quantity end of things, shorter contact form gets you more. And the more questions and qualifying factors you have, the less leads you will get, but they'll be ready to buy from you. So that leads me to action items. So I have a list here. Like I said, the one thing I do definitely want you guys to take away is it's called Google Profile now, but your Google My Business listing, Google Profile listing, please, please, please make sure you treat that like a social media platform. I have colleagues who that's all they do is optimize Google My Business listings for clients, and that's all that needs to be done. It's an unknown tool for some people, but it's really important, and also to granularize your service areas, which I can get into more if anyone is interested in a call. However, I have some action items for you guys. So deciding on a messaging strategy for your business or corporation, whether you use the Spherical Branding workshop or not, just know what you are selling and why. And you want to add as many listings to as many listing websites as possible. And this isn't just referring to Google My Business, Yelp, app, all that stuff. There's aggregate websites for, top 5 realtors in the Denver area. That's a website. You want to apply to as many of those as you can, because think of the internet as real estate, and you want to cover as much ground as you possibly can. And that's where content creation comes into play as well. So those are the preferred things. Mandatory for success, from what I've seen, defining your target audience using existing data. So compiling that Excel spreadsheet full of age, gender, location, and behaviors, and how much they paid you. The pay you part, that gives you a lifetime customer value. Everything goes off of your lifetime customer value. So second thing, utilizing the free space. We've gone over that. That's just making sure your social media platforms, everything like that, you're using the same messaging throughout all of them. You want to post the exact same thing at the close to exact same time on every platform as possible. You don't want to do different posts for different platforms. And you want to make sure Google Data Studio is set up for your website. And Google Data Studio is essentially the umbrella for Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Google Tag Manager. Google Analytics, think of that as quantitative data. Mostly, it's going to give you the number of users, how much time they spent, how many bounce rate, everything like that. And that information is great to know, but it's more of a temperature reading on things. Google Search Console, a lot of people don't know about, but it actually tells you what people are typing in to pull up your website. And having that set up is worth its weight in gold, because when you're creating content with an unpaid strategy, you just use these keywords, and essentially you cover more ground with those keywords. And that ties into creating the content. Creating the content and content marketing is absolutely the most important thing if you're trying to get customers from the internet. If someone has never met you, they don't know anything about your business, anything like that, and the first thing they see is your post, right? The customer's perception is your reality. That's what it is. And so putting quality and time and money into the content you create is going to make your business look amazing. You could be the best, whatever industry you're in, you could be the best chiropractor attorney in the state, but if no one knows about you, then it's going to be difficult for people to buy from you. So keep that in mind when creating content. And if you'd like to get started, it's very simple. Gather your digital assets and get them organized. Your social media accounts, your target audience information, your previous client information. Step 2 is you want to get organized and identify things that you might need help with. And step 3 is to send us an email at apply@stackeddeck.com.
All right.
And now I will open it up for Q&A. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate the time, and I'm happy to help, even if it's just answering a question. Don't feel like you have to, it's not a big deal. I will help as many people as I can. So feel free to ask away, even if it's through email.
So first question here in the Q&A is from Terry, who asks, what about people who work out of their homes? I guess this might be related to Google Profile, Google My Business, whatever we're calling it. Yes. Surely we don't want to put our addresses in there, right? So what would you recommend for someone who works from home?
So it's actually not a big deal to put your address. Really, it's not so much, because I work from home as well. And I use my address on my Google profile listing. It's all about the service areas that are stated. So you have the address of the business, but don't worry about that if you're working from home. You need to put that in there just because Google needs to know where, if you put United States and you're a new Google profile listing, it's not going to show to anyone. You need to master small areas and then slowly expand. So this is where defining, yes, you want to put your address in there, which, I wouldn't like to use my home address either, but people don't come knocking on doors or anything like that. What's going to come into play is your service areas. So picking out zip codes or smaller cities around you. And then let's say for Denver. So right now my service area is Denver, Littleton, Thornton. I have a few side areas. And once I have mastered that area, then I will expand my service area to the state of Colorado. Once that has been mastered, then I will expand it to, Utah, Wyoming, states, and then eventually the United States. So it's a process.
Okay, great. Yes, by the way, I can assure you, I have my own home address as my business is set up, and I get calls and I get emails because it's right across the top. People are going to want to call you. They don't want to come knock on your door. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right, so Jordan is a videographer, and he asks, how does your agency incorporate video in your work?
That's a great question. Video is the core of what we do. Content, whether it's photos, video, it is the core of what we do. It all goes back to content creation. I'm actually certified to run ads on every single platform there is, except for Hulu I'm currently working on. But I don't run ads for a single one of my clients. I don't have to. If you're doing data analytics and content creation correctly, you don't need to spend a single dollar on ads. You can, and it will speed things up. But when you spend more money on ads, it also increases risk. So it's all about, my job is risk mitigation, and video content mitigates a lot of that risk because it tells potential clients all about your business, and they can make the decision on their side whether or not they want to work with you. It's a great question.
I'm glad you said that, because the past 2 marketing people that we've had on have said pretty much the same thing, which is invest the time in organic search and filling out all your keywords and doing all those important things so people can find you, and that will work better than, and certainly less expensively than.
And if you think of advertising, like in my mind, the old way of advertising is reaching into the marketplace and persuading people to work with you, right? Like lead gen, whatever you want to call it, right? Do you want to buy my product? Yes or no? With the strategy I use, we focus all the time and money on raising awareness about the business and the business owner. So educational videos, philanthropy events, if you can afford it. Even if you're a solopreneur, just putting out educational, 15 to 30-second videos that give users a glimpse into what your process is and how you do it, it moves mountains. And once you create that content, you just do a little bit of data analytics, create some more content, rinse and repeat. That's it.
All right, let's see. Lisa says, what is the benefit of posting the same content at the same time on different platforms instead of different content throughout the platforms?
Yes, so that goes back to, we want to have a messaging strategy that is agreed upon, spherical branding. So if you have a post in one place on the same day that's different from a post in another place on the same day, it could be a different format, right? If you're posting on YouTube and and you're posting on Facebook, and one of them is a image and one of them is a video, that's okay. But you want to make sure that the message is the same and you're putting out the same information at the same time, because there's people that only will use YouTube. There's people that only will use Facebook, and there's people that only will use Instagram. And so if you have like kind of a mixed message going out at the same time, it can create the disassociation I was talking about.
Right. Okay. John asks, curious if you work with financial advisors where the firm prevents you from using anything beyond Facebook and LinkedIn.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. I'm more of a coaching role for those types of people like Edward Jones or Prudential, anything like that. I have absolutely worked with those types of clients. There's lots of things you can do organically, like the aggregate websites I was talking about, top 5 financial advisors near me, or top 5 financial advisors in Chicago. You want to do so, like there are a lot of limiting factors and red tape, but there's a lot of other options. You just got to stay positive about it and always keep moving forward. There are ways.
All right. Mark is asking, is it confusing to Facebook business and personal, and LinkedIn business and personal pages or sites?
Is what confusing?
I mean, I've seen a lot of people make business posts on their personal Facebook page.
Yes. Okay. So that's a good question. So you always want to post on your business page. Always post on your business page. Don't post on your personal page. What you can do is share it from your personal page. So make the post on your business pages, and if you want to, share it from your personal. So don't make a different post on your personal, and don't only post on your personal. There are a few rare cases, like I have a TED Talk client who her personal is her business page because she is literally the product. She is the brand and she is the product. So there are a few instances in which you don't really even need a business page, but those are rare.
All right, Mark put in a follow-up, but I think you just got that question answered. So I think you should be good, Mark. Thank you. All right, here's the question that everybody is asking because it's all over the place now. What is your take on TikTok? How do we integrate that into our business?
Yes, so like I said, there are some people that only use YouTube, only use TikTok, whatever the case is. This is going to go back to defining your target audience. So TikTok is going to be comprised of 15 to 25, 30-year-olds. It's going to be a much younger audience. So if your target audience is within that age group, and there are outliers, right? There are outliers where you could have 40 and 50-year-olds using TikTok. There are special cases. That's why you want to post ideally on all the platforms. However, when it comes to spending money on ads, if you end up spending money on ads, just making sure you know your target audience profile, because Facebook is going to be an older crowd. LinkedIn is going to be more of a business owner. LinkedIn is the most expensive and hard to reach platform there is, because the people's time on there is there's way less time from the people that are using it. And you're selling to businesses and you're selling to corporate, whereas Facebook is more of a business to consumer market. TikTok is great. Just that would be considered as a time or money expense for the educational or philanthropic content that you put out. So TikTok is a great place. Just know that there's what makes you money and there's what people engage with, and sometimes those are not the same audience in most cases, actually. So just know that.
All right. Katie asks, what role does a good logo and that type of brand recognition play in all?
Yeah, of course. So actually, when I make logos or anything like that, I undersell it. A logo is something that I have seen clients put so much time and stress into. And my own logo, actually, I had someone else create it, a professional, and she told me the exact same thing. And when it was done, there was like 5 different options, and really I wasn't happy with any of them. And the thing is you need to have a logo that's easy to understand, and the color scheme is important. If you think about the logo as kind of the guiding light for your website, so you want to pick out a logo before you build the website, because the color scheme of the logo will be exemplified through the website. And so, and this is where the spherical branding comes in, because if your brand or your brand personality is stated as clean, professional, etc., you don't want your logo to have, like pink and yellow in it, right? It should be darker colors. If you want it to be fun and creative, then you can use all the different colors you want. But this all ties back into your messaging strategy and what you want people to be seen at, or you want people to see you as, like your brand club or brand tribe.
All right. Becky asks, what is the demographic of Instagram, and how can you get beyond likes and requests to pay for shout outs?
So influencer marketing. So the demographic for Instagram is going to be all over the place. It's all over the place. To be honest, I cannot give you a perfect answer on the demographic of Instagram. It's one of those things like Facebook. So Facebook owns Instagram, and so what you do is you link your Instagram business account to your Facebook business page, and anything you post on Facebook automatically goes to Instagram. So the demographic there is all over the place. That's why it's important to do the target audience analysis and data collection. So like if you're selling, let's say, products that are kind of artsy, creative, Instagram is your perfect place. If you're an attorney, maybe not so much. And what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
She was talking about, I believe, reaching out to influencers to mention.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So influencer marketing is a very powerful tool. It's one of the most unseen success tools that there is. And what that looks like is, and one other thing I just want to mention, don't buy fake followers on Instagram. Be very, very cognizant of that. There are a lot of places that will tell you that this is a good idea. I've seen people do it, and there are a lot of algorithms in place that weren't in place in the early 2000s and 2010s that wouldn't be able to tell. Nowadays, they know, and doing that is not a good idea. However, influencer marketing, what you do is you just need to find people that are further along in the process than you, that relate to your industry. So for me, I wouldn't want to have an influencer for yoga, marketing my business. I would want to have, like a business coach as an influencer marketer. So when you essentially all you do is you make a list of people, and you just have to try and contact them and see and ask them, what would I pay you to make this post for me?
Okay, what are the key components of successful articles or posts?
Key components of successful articles or posts. So when you're posting something on wherever it is, you don't want to have words in the photo and words in the description. You can have like a title in the photo or kind of like a descriptive word, but you don't want to have redundancy in your post. So the shorter, the better. The shorter the video. Facebook's through play is set at 15 seconds. So it's very difficult to get a message across in 15 seconds, but the shorter the better, and to the point the better. But you also still want to show your personality and your tone of voice within that post. And so structure, it could be an opening sentence, like an overarching sentence, and then you could have some bullet points of what is getting done, and then a closing statement or a call to action. Click on the link to find out more, something like that. Or that's going to be more of a salesy type post. And if you wanted to do more of a educational or philanthropic type post, all you do is present information, and it can just be a video that helps people understand ways to scale your business, or what's the best back, stretch for your, to decrease back pain, something like that. But keep it short, sweet, but still show your personality and let your love light shine through your posts.
Well, on that note, I think we can wrap this one up. That completes all of our questions. It is 12:52. This one ran a little longer than we thought, but hey, you know what? I'm always happy to extend these things up to an hour if we've got really great questions, and we really did. So thanks so much, Andrew, for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, this video will appear on our BNI Team USA YouTube channel. We'll also put it in next week's reminder email, a link to watch it. And if anyone would like, a couple of people were requesting the slides, you can just reach out to Andrew and he'll get that to you. All right. Oh, don't forget to give yourselves a CEU for being on today. And thanks all for being on. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you for having me. Everyone have a great Friday. Every day's a Friday as a business owner. Remember that.
You are very positive. I love it. Excellent.